I want to make a quick video this holiday eve, even though I don't know if Thanksgiving Eve actually counts as a holiday. All I know is it's after midnight, and I don't count calories on holidays, so as of midnight tonight, I'm eating whatever the f*** I want to eat. So to me, it's a holiday. But I want to take a moment tonight to make a video addressing some of the issues that I've had people asking me about today, addressing some of the testimony by the officer, I believe his name is Darren Wilson, that shot the Michael Brown in St. Louis. There's some things that people have been saying to me today that I wanted to address. One, I believe this guy was issued a SIG P229. That's his issue weapon. And today some people have been saying to me, he says in his testimony that the suspect got his hand on the gun and therefore the gun wouldn't fire because the suspect had his hand on the gun. And they're like, well, I would never own a SIG now because the guy putting his hand on the gun made it to where it wouldn't fire. Well, I hate to break it to you, that's called pushing it out of battery, and that can happen to almost any semi-automatic gun. Pretty much any semi-automatic gun would have the same problem if someone did the same thing to the gun. Even some revolvers will have a problem if they get their hands on it and they make the cylinder not rotate. So if you've got a handgun and someone gets their hands on it, that's a bad thing. That's why it's so important to do this position, you know, when you're fighting somebody off with a handgun, because you don't want them getting their hand on your gun. Now, the second part of that testimony that people are talking about is he said, you know, the guy had his hand on my gun, therefore it wouldn't fire. I pulled the trigger, it went click. And then I pulled the trigger again, it went click again, but it wouldn't fire. But then finally on a third time it fired. And people are like, well, why is the gun going click? Isn't that just something we see in TVs and movies? Don't we all hate that? Doesn't it bother us? You know, when the good guy pulls out his gun and he goes, freeze, and then he goes, click, 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 click with a semi-automatic. We know that just doesn't work that way. And then they throw the gun at him or something, which I don't understand either. You're out of ammo, why throw your gun away? At least keep it and smack them with it or something. So people have been saying to me, does it make sense that the gun went click, click, click? Well, yes, it does make sense that the gun went click, 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 because like I said, he was issued a SIG P229, and I'll demonstrate here why that makes sense. So, as I said, pretty much any semi-automatic is going to have that same problem, that if someone grabs your gun, it can knock it out of battery. Take this Glock, for instance. Now, everybody ignore the pig nose on this Glock, because since this isn't the Glock I use, I haven't fixed the pig nose on it. I'll get around to it someday. So ignore that while I'm showing you here. But I'm going to show you how if this gun gets knocked out of battery, it won't fire, but it won't click. So there, the gun's out of battery now. Someone's got their hand on top of it. The gun won't fire. Trigger pulls, but it doesn't click. You don't hear a click, click, click. You just hear the trigger moving. But, you know, you let go of it, now it'll fire. But there's no clicking. But let's remember, he wasn't issued a Glock. He was issued a SIG P229, which is a completely different story. This here SIG P229, this is pretty much what he was issued. And if I knock this gun out of battery and pull the trigger, it clicks. Hear the click? There's a very audible, loud click there. And if I let it go, it would fire. So having it go click twice and then firing, that makes perfect sense. This is what he was issued, and this gun will click if you pull the trigger and it's out of battery. So as you can see, sometimes the click, click, click is just movie nonsense that irritates so many of us. But in this case, him saying that the gun went click, click when he pulled the trigger the first 2 times, that not only makes sense, it's the way it would have actually worked. You ain't even my real dad. Click, click, click. Well, that actually does make sense, and I'll demonstrate to you here why that actually makes sense. Well, that's fucking pissing me off.